Hello, welcome to Body and Health. You know, when you're buying a house, curb appeal is often the first thing that draws your attention. The impact as you drive along the street. But when building a house, a growing number of people these days want to see a different kind of impact. They want to reduce the effect their house has on the environment from construction on. They want to build and live in a healthy home.
We wanted to do a homesteading project, so we wanted to have some land that we could grow and sustain ourselves. And so this site, with a southern exposure like we have, was ideal. We like to be surrounded by nature, so it was just a great setting to be in. Well, it's over 28 acres, 20 acres of hardwood bush, and South Saugeen River runs through the corner of it. Then we've got about 8 acres of the open land, which again was ideal because then for whatever sort of cropping and basic animal raising we want to do, we've got some space that we don't have to clear and chop any more trees down than necessary.
So definitely at the foundations we'll have to use the the cement board for insulation.
Christine and Chris Vanderhout, a young couple who are very interested in living off the grid in the country and have read all kinds of things about healthy living, about energy effectiveness and so on, resource effectiveness. And they came to us about a couple of years ago. So we've designed a house for them. It's about 2,000 square feet, and they've started building that this year.
Like some of the citrus oil products, like they have for there's that Eco House paint company.
Spritzer, and just spritz it, and then just kind of
rub it in.
Yeah.
Well, initially the idea to build the healthy home came from reading different magazines and getting involved in the environmental movement. And then I sent out for some information, and information came in on the healthy home that Martin Lefebvre had designed.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I really liked about what you've done here, it's a really good combination, I think.
I love all the bolts there,
Oh, I know, isn't it?
It's like making a boat.
Good it has that real strength look to it, eh?
Yeah.
Since I finished School of Architecture, I've been really more interested in the environment and standards, quality of life, and what we daily have to cope with, rather than what is more traditionally the case, worrying about aesthetics.
Right. Yeah. And then, so that can be really solid then, right? Like so
right.
that it shows up really,
right.
boldly.
Right. And then this is sliding door and a lintel here.
I think we have come to a time when people are all wondering about where are we heading toward, what is the world becoming, and so on. And in my little way, I was trying to address that in the work that we're doing. Our main objective is the design of dwellings, of buildings to work in, but also household products and so on. And essentially, it's to say, okay, everything that we have today in society, nothing really works. Everything is so hopelessly inefficient. All our work is all focused in what is the alternative and to make these alternatives affordable and doable and practical.
What's that? You're up for it. Yeah, in a minute here.
We started digging just at the beginning of April. We're in the middle of June now, and the basic frame is just about complete as far as the post and beam with the rafters. Then we start doing the internal walls, start working on things like the straw bale walls and the living roof and some of the more environmental aspects, the composting systems. My goal is to, by November, roughly before it gets too cold to sleep in my little trailer, to have it so we can get inside.
The house is made up of mostly materials that have come from a recycled source, and this is a really neat material here. It's parallel strand lumber, so it's made out of tiny bits of wood that are all put down in a linear fashion, and it's glued together, and it's put together with incredible amount of pressure, and then the lignin in the wood and the glue that's in the wood that makes this kind of a beam, so it's incredibly strong. It starts to approximate steel, not quite, but it's very, very strong.
The long-term vision for this house is to supply its own energy. Solar is one of the systems, and there's other potentials that we haven't actually fully decided upon yet, whether that be wind or there's always potential for micro hydro. For sure solar, because it is such a low impact method of energy production. At this particular point in time, we've decided to do a grid intertide system, which basically means that the extra power that we produce that we wouldn't consume would go back into the grid. My belief is that that's, at this point, is one of the better ways of going at it, because you don't have all the environmental problems associated with batteries and the storage. I think for the decking, I still would like to use some of our cedar trees.
The clients that we have are very rational people. They really think it all through, and through that process, they end up, coming to us because they don't have the technical insight in how to accomplish their ambitions. When it's all done and they live and work in one of these places, then they really feel good, and that's the objective, and that's why people come to us.
Yeah.
Feeling good about the house you live in means different things to different people. We'll discover what inspires the Vanderhout family when Body and Health returns. The house of straw was the worst of the lot in the nursery rhyme, so what makes it a better building product today? And more important, what would inspire someone to choose a straw house over, say, one made of brick?
We've both sort of had an environmental conscience about what we've done, just in our lives in general. So and I think as we've gotten older, we've just become more conscientious and conscious of that, and realized, you sort of have to take it to that next step sometimes and sort of start living it in a way. And I think your home is such an expression of that. You can sort of make do with other things. And we had done that in the past with our home that was more urban setting. We had put solar panels on it and such, but there was only so much we could do in retrofitting, so it was just sort of the next step for us, was sort of to take it to that level, and have that home that you feel you can just love to come home to and be proud of, and feel good living in it.
Today we've begun the straw building portion of the building, which it's been a long build up to. My relatives and some close friends have come by to help out and learn a little bit about environmental building techniques.
We're using straw bale walls, and that is such a wonderful product that just comes directly from the farmer. And of course, this house is being built in amongst the farm, so it's so appropriate. And it's a waste product, so it has been in the barn for a year. so that it's has a low moisture content, less than 12%. It's just a wonderful way of building, and it's also a soft technology. So when people work with them, they become all happy, and people become have a really good mood when they work with it, because it's easily understood, and you stack them up and then you plaster them. So it's really neat.
Once we get this all stuffed, then we're going to go along and we're going to basically pound the bales and straighten them up. Straws are very interesting and fun building material to work with, very different from working with timbers, and this is my first experience with it. Due to that, there's a lot of learning, but you also get this sort of more of an artistic sort of a feel to the building procedure, as opposed to this conventional cut your timbers to a size and they have to be all exact and straight, where it's a straw bale wall and it's oh, I'll fit a chunk in there and stuff a chunk in there. Now let's carve it up with the whippersnipper and make these walls reasonably flat. Yeah, it just gives you a little bit more of a sort of your molding. It's very interesting material to work with. Okay, now give that one a bit of a bang in. This one? Yeah, whoa.
It's a better form of insulation. It's without chemicals. It's naturally grown. So people with allergies, that have chemical reactions, of course, there's no problems with that.
Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Look at that, eh?
A straw bale wall is, per definition, is a breathing wall because it actually doesn't have plastic in it, doesn't have a vapor barrier, which is normally required under the building code, that there is a vapor barrier. What's really interesting about a breathing wall is that the air is able to come in, but it's actually heated as it transfers through the wall. So it's a really wonderful way to keep the air very fresh and yet not suffering any heat loss from it, because of the walls are R40, which is double the R value of a good regular constructed wall.
Okay, so we can round that corner there now. So yeah, right there, that little. Well, there's still a lot to do with it in the house. Inside finishing is obviously a lot of work. However, as far as the exterior goes, we're very close to finishing off the exterior. As a percentage, we're probably about 50% of the way there.
We've built this home actually with the thought in mind that one section of the house we can sort of concentrate on that and complete that, get it enclosed and protected from the elements. But that second part of the house isn't going to be our priority. We're going to concentrate on the main body of the house. And that was actually the way the house was designed, to take that into consideration as well, that it can sort of be this self-contained unit that we can live in there. Probably by the fall, before the weather gets too cold, we'll be able to move into it, knowing that it's not going to be fully complete. I'm not going to have my dream kitchen in there or anything like that right off the bat, but we're content to live with that.
With those thick walls, the winter winds won't blow that house in. And when Body and Health returns, we'll discover more about the inspiration for healthy house construction. The better your insulation, the more you'll save on heating costs. But you can also save by heating the house itself, not the air that's in it. And that's just the beginning of the energy saving.
About 12 years ago, I was researching healthy housing, sustainable building techniques, and solar panels and so on. and at the same time as my children were being born. So I was really in tune with, you know, what was happening in the world and wanting to make a big difference for them. So that really started us on that journey. So we started saving money, trying to figure out the best way to do a sustainable house. So through that process, we met Martin and we started looking for properties. Starting out, we developed a kind of set of requirements, and my big thing was no fossil fuel usage, which is a bit unusual today because fossil fuels aren't going to run out for 40 or 50 years, but it seemed to be an important way of really setting, you know, the principles and the ideas for the house. And by doing that, you eliminate things like a furnace.
We have an approach which involves very old methods of staying warm and combine that with very, very new technologies. Essentially, there's two things going on, which is, of course, the mass in the floor keeps a house cool or warm, but then the windows are so sophisticated that essentially what's in the windows, and it's not detectable to the eye, but there's tiny little silver particles that are floating in the glass. It's called low E coating, and essentially what it does, it blocks any transfer of heat, whether it's from the outside toward the inside or from the inside toward the outside. It simply won't let it go through. And of course, then you say, well, don't you want that heat then from those windows? Not necessarily, and not even necessarily in the winter. What actually happens is with those windows, you want daylight. Sunlight, as soon as it hits your body or floor or material, it just transfers itself into heat, just because that's the way light is energy, is warmth. Then those windows won't let that heat to be allowed to escape to the outside.
The wind turbine is designed to generate about 1 kilowatt an hour of DC current, and we take that DC current into the house and it's converted into AC in an inverter, and then we pump that power into the grid so we run our meter backwards, so it's saving us energy, and it's a renewable energy source. We've been living in the house for 3 years now. The first year that we were here, there was no solar panels, no wind turbines, so we kind of had a sense for what the house was like without some of those technologies. And even just the basic design of passive solar, sun coming in on the south, thick straw bale wall on the north kept it cozy and warm all winter long. A lot of people ask me, you know, with no furnace, aren't you cold? And it's completely the opposite, actually. It's very warm and comfortable and cozy, and the kids love it. I mean, there's something really wonderful about all of that light coming into the house, and you know, we've been very healthy, and you know, it's been a really good experience.
Being environmentally aware is very important. It was one of the top 3 things about determining this house. Martin came up with the design, and I'm sure I was the worst client in the history of architecture because he would fax me a picture of something, and I didn't know anything about architecture, but I would take white out the pieces of the design I didn't like, draw them back in, and fax it back to him. This is co-housing, which means we're co-tenants. So there's Beth and Grace and myself living in the house. Essentially everyone has the equivalent of a 2-bedroom suite. And then the common area includes a living room, kitchen, dining room, storage, mechanicals, and a large guest suite. The idea to build a healthy home was because Beth has multiple chemical sensitivities, so there was never an option. The fabric of the house, the material of the house has to suit her, be something she can live with. In terms of energy efficiency, we produce 1/3 of our own electricity, we produce our domestic hot water. We used radiant in-floor heating because it's very efficient in terms of how you heat. You're heating the mass of the house. The house opens up in terms of design on the south and west faces so that you can absorb the heat through the windows and heat the house with the sunlight passively. It closes down on the north and east sides so that it preserves and conserves energy. You know, it's straw. It's non-toxic. It's a waste product that farmers are not allowed legally to burn anymore, so they have to get rid of it somehow, so that in itself is an environmental decision to make use of. Outdoors, we've avoided hard landscape. It's the gravel all around, so the water filters down through right back into the groundwater. So those kinds of things were very important to us.
Well, what's really exciting as a designer is that people have faith in what you're doing. What particularly for me is very important is that the houses, of course, are nice to look at, but in a much deeper way, that these houses are not sort of, you know, producing a burden to the owners and to their kids later on. It's really an asset not for themselves, not just for the owners, but for society.
Many people believe that we don't inherit the earth from our parents so much as borrow it from our children. The healthy house is a long-term investment. Body and Health will be right back. If you'd like to know more about the benefits of healthy homes, straw bale construction, and other energy-saving innovations, we have some excellent sources for you. The addresses are on the Body and Health pages. To find them, log on to Canada.com. Click on the Health tab and look for episode number 4-500. That is our program for today. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you next time.